Papers, papers, papers. Let's talk about papers. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Rich. I am an oil pastel artist. I have been using oil pastels exclusively since about 2010. So we're going on 14, getting close to 15 years. Before that, I was using acrylic painting, a little bit of oil painting, but mostly acrylic. And then around 2009, going in 2010, I started switching over to pastels, and then I found oil pastels very soon after that, and then I've been exclusive with oil pastels. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, that is who I am. But if you've been here a while, well, welcome back. Okay, so this video is going to be talking about all the different papers out there in the world. Oh my God, there's so many to choose from. When you go down to your paper section aisle in the art store, man, you are just bombarded with all kinds of papers, and you're probably asking yourself, what the heck am I going to use for oil pastel? Well, I've used all these over the years. There's about 17, maybe 18 different brands of paper, have different textures and different surfaces. So I'm going to go through each one of these, and we're going to just do a little bit of a demo on each one so you can see how oil pastel looks on different types of papers. Okay, all right, so let's get started. I don't have these in any particular order other than the larger format papers like the 11 by 14s, 12 by 16s, etc. Going to be down here towards the bottom. The 9 by 12s, the 11 by 14s is going to be towards the top. But other than that, there is no particular order on which one I like more, which one I like the least, blah, blah, blah. It's just on the size of the paper that it comes. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so let's start with this one. This is the Canson watercolor paper. It is 9 by 12. You get 30 sheets in here, 140 pound. That's the weight, the thickness of it. The higher that number, the thicker the paper is. I prefer things that are over 100 pounds. This happens to be 140. So we have a nice, thick, durable paper. It says cold press, made by Canson. And my dog autographed it up here in the corner. Decided to chew on that a little bit. So thank you for him for doing that. But I've had this for a little while. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. You can see what it looks like. And I don't know if you can tell, there is a textured side and there is like a little bit more of a smooth side, although I think both sides feel very similar. Okay, now it is nice thick, like this is a nice thick card, almost, very nice durable thick paper. I like that because it's very durable, holds up very well to using a terp, right? And for doing a lot of scratching back, you want a good thick paper for that. Okay, so I have two brands of oil pastel here we're going to try out. I have a brand new Mungio Gallery oil pastel, golden ochre, and we have a Van Gogh oil pastel. They call this turquoise blue. I call it sky blue because I use it a lot in skies, and of course everyone's familiar with the Mungio Gallery, a really good brand to use. All right, you can see they're very well similar in size, thickness. Okay, but the Van Goghs tend to be a little bit harder, and the Mungio Gallery is a little bit on the softer side. Okay, but they're pretty close. I use them interchangeably. All right, let's see what oil pastel looks like on this Canson watercolor paper. All right, so let's grab. We'll just do the we'll just do the Mungio first. I'm just going to take the edge of the stick and I'm just going to grab it and just do that. Okay. You can see the texture of the paper. You see the speckling there underneath the white. You need to see the white of the paper underneath that color. Okay. Same thing with the Van Gogh. All right. So you can see what the surface of that paper is doing. You see that texture? Some people like that. Some people don't. That bothers some people. Doesn't bother other people. Okay. Now, I don't particularly like this look. I like more of a smooth surface, but if I needed to cover the white of the paper, I would have to really blend that down. And you can see as I rub that Mungio Gallery, you can see how it spreads out pretty nice. Craypas, or not the Craypas, but the Van Gogh, it does spread, just not as good as the Mungio. But you can see I can get past that texture of the paper pretty easily just by spreading this with my fingers, okay? So there you go. You can see what it looks like on this Canson watercolor paper. Now, what's good about this paper, what I like about it, is the thickness of it and the price of it. This Canson is not very expensive at all. And I like this particular product when I go plein air. Like if I go outside and paint from life, I tend to bring on my Canson, okay? And it's just a nice, thick, durable paper. It's going to last, okay? So when I'm doing plein air work, I kind of gravitate towards the Canson watercolor. Definitely can use this with oil pastel, no problem. And it's a nice, affordable piece of paper, a pad of paper, okay? You get a lot of sheets here. Okay, so there's that. By the way, I have a feeling this is going to be a long video because I'm just talking a lot. So might be an hour, but that's what it is. Okay, next up in line is we got this is from Blick. I got this at the Blick art store. Of course, Blick makes its own products, some stuff they make. This is the Vellum Bristol paper. Again, 9 by 12, 100 pounds, so not as thick as that watercolor that we just used. But again, we're at the 100 pounds, so it's decent. Vellum surface for colored pencil, graphite pen, heavyweight, acid-free, made in the USA. I actually just picked this up last week. I've never tried Vellum until last week, and I've done one painting on it. I'm going to do another one here later on, but here it is, Vellum Bristol. Let's go ahead and open it up. Brand new pad of paper, and there it is, and it is a little smoother than that Canson, and it has a smoother side too. There seems to be, again, a more textured side and a more smooth side, and it's a nice thick card-like feel. Okay, let's go ahead and take the oil pastel, see what it looks like on this Vellum Bristol paper. All right, grab the Mungio Gallery. Oh, that was easy. It just kind of glides across really nicely. And the Van Gogh. Okay, and I'm just going to feel it. Yeah, there's a definite softness I like about the paper. It's got a nice feel to it. Easy to blend with fingers, not abrasive, pretty good. Doesn't bleed to the other side. Again, thicker the paper, the better, because you won't get that oil bleed on the other side. That's important for me. I don't like to see that on the other side of the paper. Got a nice, just a nice, soft, feathery kind of feel to the paper. Feels good. I really like the Vellum. I wish I would have tried it earlier in my oil pastel career. But I just found it. I just tried it last week and I like it. Excellent. 9 by 12. I want to get actually a larger size. See if I can find like a 12 by 16-ish format. But pretty good. And not very expensive, and I got 15 sheets. A little bit more spendy than that Canson. The Canson's on the cheaper end here. Okay, ooh, Fabriano Black. 9 by 12, 140 pound. That's a good thickness. It says drawing paper, black by Fabriano. Okay, let's open it up. And it is black. And again, there seems to be a texture side and a smooth side. It's pretty consistent with a lot of these brands. They seem to offer you two different kind of feels to it, right? Let's go and see what the Mungio Gallery does on this. Ooh, the texture on that's a little different. Not as speckly as those other two I tried. Seems to come off a little bit different. Same with this Van Gogh. Okay. Let's see if we can spread this out. And we can. Not too bad. Spreads pretty well. Feels pretty good on my fingers. Not abrasive, not hard. I could definitely blend by hand using this paper, no problem. Of course, we're dealing with black. Okay, so we're using color on black, which is a good thing and it's a bad thing. The good thing about it is we can use the black as a value and use it as a dark, right? Sometimes I feel the color just pops off the black a little bit easier and more attractive. But then sometimes I see a lot of the black paper underneath the color, and then sometimes I gotta go, you know what, I don't want to see the black. I kind of want to see more color, so then I have to go back in and add a little more. So, but that's easy to do. So there's that. This paper is definitely suitable for oil pastel, works very well, nice thick paper. If you enjoy working on black paper, you might want to give this a shot. You get 20 sheets in here, and not too expensive, pretty good, good thickness, good paper. I enjoyed it. I'll definitely do more paintings on the black. Fabriano, pretty good. Okay, oh, I got a second page. I got two. This is just that same Canson watercolor. We won't test this, we've already done that, so we already saw what that looks like. We'll go ahead and put that back. Okay, now this is a new one by CLA Fontaine I tried. I've used it several times. Got it within the last year. They call it Natural Mixed Media Multi-Paper, extra heavyweight. 9 by 12. It's a good thick paper, and it's toned paper. It's all in this kind of a, I don't know, tan, light brown color. So we're not working on white, not working on black. Sometimes working on a toned paper makes things easier, right? You don't have to spend so much time covering the paper. And it's pretty thick, pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and try the oil pastel on each one of these so you can see what that looks like. It's more of a smoother side, but you can see the texture of the paper coming through. Here's the crépage. Okay, and see how well we can move this, blend this, cover it up. Pretty good, pretty easy. Spreads well, feels good, not abrasive. I think very similar to the black, just as far as the feel goes. So pretty good. What I know about this paper, since I've used it a lot, is when it comes to when I do a painting, I like to put tape all the way around the edges. Okay, so when I pull the tape, I got a nice clean edge. For this particular paper, when I seem to do that and I pull that tape off, the paper tends to want to rip a little into the painting. This particular paper wants to do that. So I got to be very careful when I work on this paper and I pull that tape off. I got to go very slow. Sometimes I'll start it here and it'll start to rip, and then I got to come from this side, and so I don't tear into the painting. I've had that happen on this kind of paper before, so I just know when I take that tape off and I'm done with the painting to just go real slow with that tape, or else I'm going to rip the paper. That's the only drawback to this. Otherwise, I like it a lot. It's a good paper. CLA Fontaine's a good company. They make really good products. And this paper is a good one. Great for oil pastel. So that'll work. Okay. How are we doing on time? We're only 11 minutes. Yeah, this is going to be an hour long. Okay, here we got the Canon Mentes pastel black paper, 9 by 12, 98 pound, little on the light side. When I first started oil pastel back in 2010, I bought Canon. All right, very affordable, very inexpensive. I started with this. I think this might be still the same Canon I got many years ago. I just haven't used it, and I'll tell you why. I don't like the texture of the paper. I think it's too strong. You can see I played around with some colors here. It's just too strong. The texture just comes through too much, and it's too hard for me to blend. And I'll show you. We'll just do a fresh demonstration here on this Canon stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take this Mungio Gallery. You're going to see what that texture does. It's very speckled. All right, boy, that's a strong texture to work with. Maybe you like that. Maybe you want that effect. Not my thing. And the reason why is because it's a beast to try to cover that texture up. Boy, I got to rub. And even if I rub it, you can still see the texture there underneath, the little hills and valleys there, that little speckled look of color. That's just not my thing. I end up having to use so much pastel just to get past that. And even still, I can sometimes see it through. So this is why I stopped using Canon, because it's just too much of a pain for me to blend. And I don't really need the texture anymore to get layers. So, it was good in the beginning, good to learn on. But when I found other papers, I just stopped using this stuff. Also, I don't like the thinness of this. To me, it's too thin. and I've had issues with Canson paper where the oil will bleed through the paper, and then you go to the other side and you'll see like these splotches of oil coming through. It's just too thin. I need something thicker, more durable. And again, I don't like battling the textured paper, and it seems to be textured, although this side seems to be smoother. I still feel that you can still see the texture even on the other side. Like, it was good for me beginning out with oil pastel. You know, I learned, and I just learned, not my thing. I don't prefer it. So I haven't used this in many, many years. So there's Canon Mentes pastel paper. Okay, maybe it's better for dry pastels, and maybe that's why. Okay, but there it is. Okay, and shortly after I used Canon, I tried Strathmore. This is Strathmore Art, again, drawing paper. This is black, 60 pounds, so it's even lighter than the Canson. It's a 9x12, it's 24 sheets. I haven't used this paper in a long time. To me, it's just way too thin. Way too thin of a paper. I like thicker stuff. Okay, but it doesn't have the same, this particular one doesn't have the same texture as that Canson. But we're going to go ahead and just do a little color test here. We'll take the Mungio. Here's see the texture there coming through. Take the Van Gogh. Okay. And the texture is not as annoying as the Canson, but it's kind of pretty close. Although I don't have to add as many layers to get past that texture. I don't feel it spreads really well on the paper too. It feels a little bit stiff. And it's just too lightweight for me. So I haven't used this pad by Strathmore in a long time. And I'm sure those of you who are watching, and I know there's some of you who are Canson fans, Strathmore fans, that's great. What works for you, works for you. For me, not my best, not my favorite. Okay, there's Art again, Strathmore. Okay, now here's another Strathmore product on this spiral type drawing paper pad. Strathmore toned gray sketch paper. It's medium surface, again 80 pounds, kind of a lightweight. But it's not white or black, it's this nice gray, which is a nice neutral surface. I did a little drawing there on that one. But let's go ahead and get to a clean sheet. What's cool about this is it's got this perforated line here. And I don't know if that's a good thing or that bad thing, but you can get it so that you can cut it out, so you don't have the spiral thing to worry about. You get actually a little line here that you can kind of tear it away from. Okay, and it's got a nice kind of fibery type feel. I don't know if you can see the little fibers in there. I'm trying to get close, but I can feel like I see little hair fibers in the paper. So it's a very interesting surface. Let's go ahead and see what the oil pastel looks like on it. I'll try the Mungio Gallery. Okay, not bad. Pretty easy. You can still see the texture of that paper coming through. Not as bad as that Canson or the other Strathmore. And then this is a nice surface to work on because of the, maybe the little fibers on it or something make it just pleasant to feel on the fingers. So it's actually not bad. My only downside is this, I just don't like thin paper. Too thin, too flimsy. If I were to use terp on this, that terp's going to go right through to it. And I just don't trust it. It might tear on me when I'm working on it. I just don't like thin papers. But other than that, I do like the feel of it. Like if this came in a thicker size of paper, I might get this more. All right, so there's that. There's a Strathmore tone gray, right? All right, now let's get into this one here, Art Spectrum. All right, sanded paper. Okay, now we're getting into sanded paper. So let's take one of these out. Let's see, we'll try this color. They have different, colors in here. Tells you what kind of packs. This is a variety pack. So you can see I get sand, beige, gray, umber, Ross, blah, blah, blah. You get all these different colors. Archival, acid-free. Nice thick paper. 10 sheets in here. And here's what it looks like when you take it out. What's cool is you got this nice border. See that border going to go all the way around? Well, that's really nice when it comes to trying to frame this, right? Is you got a nice clean edge to work with. Good thick paper, and boy, that sandpaper feels nice. I say it's a light feel sandpaper. Okay. Now let's see what oil pastel looks like on sanded paper. Okay. Let's rub that there. And rub it there. Why the color really comes off. You can get a lot of layers with sanded paper. It's one of the benefits of it. Here's what's not so fun is trying to blend with fingers on sanded paper. It's rough. It's a little rough. After a while, you can start to, my fingertips get a little red and a little bit tender there if I just keep doing that. So what I tend to do on sanded paper is use a stump to blend. Okay, works just fine. So that's the downside, is it might be a little rough on your fingers, especially if you do a lot of blending with your fingers. You might want to use a stump here more on the sanded stuff to do some of that blending. Every once in a while though, the finger blending is better. You can get a little bit different type of technique, but you just got to be careful. I've actually, again, rubbed it down pretty well, and I'm looking at my fingers like easy. I think I rubbed some skin off. Okay, but the benefit of the sanded paper is you can get some decent good layers going with it, and you can rub different brands on each other because that sanded feel, that sanded just picks off that pigment really well, drops the color down really well, so you can work interchangeably between different brands and get that color to stack up. That's the cool thing about it. Of course, again, bad thing is watch your fingers, okay? Use a stump on the sanded paper. So that's the art spectrum. I do like this actually. I think this is my second pack. Again, 9x12. Got this at the Blick Art store, and it's nice. It comes in these individual sheets that you can just take out of this little envelope here that they provide. All right, good quality paper. Good job by Art Spectrum. Okay. All right, now we're going to try something completely different. Yupo. Anybody heard of Yupo paper by Legion? This is the heavyweight version. Suitable for watercolor, alcohol inks, acrylics, and oil pastel. It's 144 pound. You get 10 sheets. Interesting paper this is. It's like plastic, basically. You know? And it's just got a really funky feel. Not funky, but different. It's smooth, like a dry erase board. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of those white, dry, erase boards that you see in schools where they, just feels like that. It is slick, smooth, but watch, it does have friction. So you can use oil pastel on a smooth surface like this. Let's go ahead and try out the Mungio. Look at that. Just kind of smears across it. It's interesting how even though it's smooth, it picks up enough friction from the paper to drop a little color. Now this Van Gogh is having a little bit of trouble with this. It wants to not really come off it. So I think the softer brands for the Yupo is probably better. I think this Van Gogh's might be a little bit too on the hard side for it to really be effective. But here's what's interesting about working on the Yupo is, boy, it spreads out. You can really move that around easily. In fact, look at that. I can move this all the way back down to the paper, this Yupo. I pretty much wiped that blue right off. The Mungio's got more pigment so you can see it better, but it's smooth, and so you can spread that color off. What this is good for is doing what I call a nice scratch back, okay? So you got your color there, and let's say you want to get some details. Well, you can use something called a scratch back. So you can take something that's pointed like this, and you can scratch right down to the paper and create some nice details with that. Make grass, anything like that, branches, trees. You can scratch right to the paper. Really easy, really easy. In fact, almost it's too easy. I can really just move the color right off. And if I blend too heavy, like if I put too much pressure when I'm moving it, I can just wipe right down back to the white of the paper. That's a good thing and that's a bad thing. When working on Yupo or a smooth surface like this, I have to change how much pressure I'm putting when it goes to blending. Sometimes I gotta kind of take the pressure off and just blend lightly so I don't wipe back down to the paper. Okay, so that is Yupo. I've done a few paintings on Yupo, and once you get enough oil pastel on there, you can really manipulate, really move things, and it'll stay there. It won't wipe out. You can put fixative on it and it stays. It's permanent. So that's good. And it's a good thick paper, and it takes well to solvents, although you don't really need solvents on this. You can see how easy it is just to move it around. But again, sometimes it can be too easy to wipe, and it can be annoying, and it can be a challenge. You have to blend a little differently on the Yupo. So there's that. I've had this paper for a while. I've only done maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 paintings on Yupo or something like that. So this is still the original sheet. A radically novel breed of paper, tree-free, okay, bright white, and stain-proof. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, Yupo heavy, and I think they have different weights. I just like the heavy stuff, so I got this one. Probably won't buy Yupo again, but it's interesting. If you like a really smooth, slick surface, you might want to give Yupo a try. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to take a little break here. I'll be right back. Okay, next one up. Pastel Premiere. Sanded pastel paper. This comes in the Italian clay color. This is a 12 by 16 in the medium. It's a medium grit sandpaper feel. I get 6 sheets in here. All right, and 145 pounds, so good thickness on it. Actually got this off the Blick website. That's where I found it. And I gotta hang on a second. Let me open this up. Okay, I just needed to cut through the little tape here that's holding everything together. Oh, and it comes wrapped, so hang on. Let me move this here. They want to wrap their paper in plastic. Okay, we'll just have to remove that. This is a brand new pad. I think I bought this, I just haven't used it recently. But there it is. It's that, again, they call it Italian clay, I think, and it's a medium grit sandpaper feel, and it's a nice big format. Nice thick paper. Boy, that sandpaper is really strong there, that feel. Okay, but this paper is awesome. This paper is awesome for oil pastel. Again, I really like the sanded surface. I don't use it exclusively because it really grinds down your oil pastel to nothing. Okay, so you gotta I can't do everything on sanded paper, otherwise I'd be buying oil pastels way too often. But here's what the oil pastel looks like on it. Yeah, and that goes on nice, really good. You can get a lot of color down. Boy, that sandpaper really pulls off that color. Drops it in there. But of course, since we're working on sanded paper, this is not the fun part. Ooh, I can just feel my skin being grinded away. So I tend to, again, go to a stump when I want to blend to move it the color. All right, I'd rather grind the stump down than my finger down. So be careful on the sanded paper. It's a really good surface for oil pastel. Just watch your fingers. You can really grind that skin off, okay? All right, but man, I can just keep adding layer after layer after layer after layer. I can just keep adding layer. I can just keep going. I can keep going. I can just go, 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 go. Different brands on top of each other, no problem. Sanded paper just pulls it all off, makes it magical. But you got to blend differently on it, all right? This paper has a tendency to curl. I don't know if you can see that. I just want to pull up around the edges, so sometimes that happens. But once this is framed and sitting down, it'll sit down nice. All right, so that's that Pastel Premiere sanded paper. Let's look at the what it looks like again. If you're interested in sanded paper, a medium grit, I kind of like that. This is a good product, really good. You only get 6 sheets, a little on the spendy side, but well worth a shot. All right, so hang on, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna put this all back together. We'll grab another pad, hang on. Okay, next in line, Bristol Smooth. Bristol Smooth paper, 14 by 17, 100 pounds, smooth surface for pen and marker, heavyweight, acid-free. You wouldn't think this works for oil pastel. Well, I'm here to tell you that it does. And it's very much similar to the Yupo, but I think a little better than the Yupo. All right, so I'm going to just pull it open here. Nice thick paper. Very smooth surface. All right, let's see what oil pastel looks like on the Bristol Smooth. Here is the Mungio. See that come off? Nice, smooth mark. There's a little bit of that Van Gogh. And again, since it's that smooth surface, just like the Yupo, I can really move this, but has a little bit more resistance than the Yupo, which is good. Has a little bit more resistance. The color will actually stay down a little bit. I can't really wipe off like I did on the Yupo, but I can wipe it pretty good. I can move it around pretty easily. I can stack colors on, and I'm able to do a scratch back on this Yupo. This is actually a really good paper for oil pastel. If you like a smooth surface, you gotta try the Bristol Smooth. Highly recommend. It's gonna change how you blend. It's gonna change how you move the oil pastel. But man, it holds up really well. And I've done many paintings on this. I do like this nice 14 by 17 size. Right? Nice big format. Makes a nice good sized painting. Love the Bristol Smooth, excuse me, by Blick. Okay, check it out. Okay, here comes the #1 paper I love of all time. Pastel Mat by CLA Fontaine Pastel Mat. I actually have a different pad. This is the all white Pastel Mat. This is the, get 4 different tones here. I got white, black, sienna, and brown. 12 by 15.5 inches. So actually it's a really good 30 by 40. It's made in France, so they don't use inches. So it's a little off on the side. It makes framing a little weird and difficult because there's not a standard frame. That's the only drawback to Pastel Mat is you got to think about framing a little bit. You might have to get a custom fit frame. Might have to mat this so it gets it to the right size, like mat up to a 16 by 20. Right, and I love Pastel Mat. Here's another drawback to Pastel Mat. This stuff is expensive. This is a pad. You get 12 sheets, $64-ish for this pad of paper for only 12 sheets. That is expensive. But there's some good things about this, great things about this paper. One, you get this glassine paper, and I still have some paintings left in this. But with the paper, you get 1 sheet of glassine for every piece of paper, and it goes well with protecting your work. So you can see I've left paintings in here and then just put the glassine back right over this, and nothing's getting smudged or damaged. There is no fixative on here. Okay, this is just the oil pastel, but you can see how well that pastel sticks to the paper. There's not a lot coming off on the glassine. This paper is magical. I don't know how they make it. Here's another painting I did, sideways, again, glassine covering it. Let's see if I get back to let's actually, you know what? I got a lot of paintings in here, so I'm just gonna close this. We'll go to the white one. I think I have a fresh sheet in here of the Pastel Mat. Yeah, that glassine paper is really nice because it prevents smudging, helps protect your work. And here it is, Pastel Mat. Nice, thick, like cardboard size, cardboard feel, very thick, durable paper. Well, it takes the terp really well, right? Thick, durable paper. It's worth that $64, man. This stuff is magical. And it's got a nice feel. And let's see what the oil pastel looks like on Pastel Mat. All right, so got the Mungio Gallery. Ooh, nice coverage on that. I don't see a lot of the speckling of the paper underneath. God, crepe, both brands here. Both brands work wonderfully on this. Blending on Pastel Mat is a little stiff. The color doesn't want to spread much. You can see how the paper really holds on to the color, almost like the way the sandpaper feels. So I really can't spread out that well with Pastel Mat, which is okay. But what I can do is I can get really good crisp lines with Pastel Mat. Okay, I can draw nice details with this paper that I can't seem to do with some of the other brands out there. Okay, because where you put that color is where that color is going to sit. It doesn't want to spread out much on Pastel Mat. I can be very precise. I can draw nice thin lines. I can blend if I want a little bit. I can build up color. I can get layers of different brands stacking on each other. Pastel Mat is the dream surface for me. Let's see, I discovered it, I would say 6 years ago, and it's my number one. It's my favorite still. It's expensive, but I don't know. It's so unique with how the oil pastel works. And you can use it with soft pastels, dry pastels, hard pastels, oil pastels. Stuff is magical. It's my favorite paper. Still, just spendy. That's it. All right. But if you haven't tried Pastel Mat, do it. Save up some money. Maybe it's a birthday present, whatever, Christmas. Ask for Pastel Mat. Get yourself a sheet. I got the white. I got the different colors. It works the same. You know, sometimes it's easier working on toned paper, so you're not battling the white of the paper. So I got both, and you get that glassine in every sheet, so you can protect your artwork. You just leave it in here if you want, and put that glassine there, and nothing's going to smudge off. Nothing's going to get damaged. Pastel Mat's my fave. Overall, number one fave. It still is my fave. I love it. Love Pastel Mat. Thank you, CLA Fontaine, for making Pastel Mat. Okay, getting down to the wire. We got CLA Oil Pastel Pad. Support for oil pastel, card for oil pastel. Good thickness on here, 160 pounds. I get 12. Pretty cool. You know what I don't like about this pad? I'm going to show you. They have this spiral here, and there's no cutoff. There's no perforated line here for me to tear a sheet off and have a nice crisp line. Everything goes right up into the spiral, which sucks. I don't like that, but at least they give you some glassine. Actually, here's some older works. It's upside down, but that's a beach scene. But let's go ahead and get to a clean sheet so you can see what the oil pastel looks like on this stuff. Actually, I'll just pull one out. So yeah, that's the drawback is, you know, when it comes to taking the paper off, you gotta have to, you know, cut it with scissors. I don't like that. I just want to be able to tear it off. I don't want to worry about the spiral, you know, thing here. But there seems to be a nice thick paper. There's a textured side and there's more of a smooth side. So let's try the textured side. This is made by CLA, and I would say when it comes to paper, they do an okay job. They're better at making oil pastels rather than the paper. I thought maybe this would be like Primo. It really wasn't. It was okay. You know, I can blend here okay. It's not abrasive. There is a bit of a texture that I have to get through to cover up the white of the paper. It blends all right. It's all right. It isn't worth the cost, and honestly, this is the only pad I bought from them, this paper. So it works all right. Again, if it had a perforated edge up here where I can pull off a clean piece out, I'd probably get more of it. But it is 12 by 16 and 3/4, 12 sheets. Pretty thick stuff, pretty decent. I think for the money though, I think Pastel Mat's just better. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to show you what used to be my number one was Arches cold press oil paper. 140 pound. This is meant for oil painting. I actually found this in the oil painting section in my art store. I was just walking around. I went to the oil painting section, so I was looking for a good terp, and I saw this sitting down there, and I'm going, wow, I wonder if I can use that for oil pastel. I probably can. So I bought it, and I tried it, and I like it. But this paper is very textured. It's thick. I like it because it's thick, but it's got an interesting fibery texture feel to it, and the way the oil pastel sits on it is kind of interesting. Almost looks like it's floating a little bit. You won't be able to tell that from this video, but in person you can kind of feel the color kind of sitting up, right? And that's because of the texture of it, and you can see the speckliness of it and what that looks like. And again, it's got more of a smooth side, more of a textured side, so you want that feel, but you can feel that texture when you try to blend, and it leaves that texture there. The good thing is you're able to stack some colors up here with it. You can see how I do that, and then I can blend and I can keep stacking. So that's nice. It just takes a little bit more work on this paper to get some coverage. So when I use arches, I tend to use a lot of terp. What's great about using terp is it's got a membrane in the paper that prevents liquids from growing through it because it's meant for oil painting. So there's a membrane in there that they put in there so that you don't get anything on the other side. So it's very durable. Good paper. You can get a good impressionistic look with this paper because of that speckled texture that you're working with. Harder to get more clean lines with it, although you can do it. I think the Pastel Mat's better without seeing breakage in the color. If I want more of an impressionism type feel, I might use arches. Okay, I just know I'm probably going to use terp with it, and the blending is going to be a little bit more stiff with arches. It's a great paper though. I highly recommend it. I used this for a long time. It was my #1. I really liked it a lot. I still like it until I found Pastel Mat, and then Pastel Mat kind of took over because Pastel Mat's just so unique. But there's arches. Good stuff. I think they make a watercolor paper too. I've never tried it, but it's probably very similar. Okay, good paper. All right, we're getting closer to the end. I think it might be the last one. This is the last one. Okay, Strathmore Art again. And on the thin side, 60 pounds. Again, my dog autographed it. Thank you. Chewed the corners here. You know why I got this paper is because I like the format. It's 12 by 18, so it's a nice wide landscape format. Yeah, that's kind of cool to work on a nice wide format. And here is the paper. It comes in different kinds of colors. You get grays and browns and pinks, and look at that. Imagine working on that color, and you know, all different tones in there. Let's go ahead and just see what this one, and the paper, the feel of the paper is actually really pleasant on the fingers. Again, has kind of a fibery, like you see like little hairs or something in there. It's just, it's interesting. It's good to work with. To me, it was just a little too thin. I did have some bleed coming through the other side. I wouldn't recommend using a terp on this kind of stuff. I think it's too thin. But let's go ahead and rub the pastel on it. You can see the texture of that coming off. And a lot of these, when I test this, you might see, well, they all kind of look the same. They kind of are similar, but there's a different feel when you go in and you try to blend and move things. And this paper really helps me blend out. Very pleasant on the fingers, not abrasive. I could do this all day with my fingers. And I'm not, I'm not going to rub any skin off. And I can just keep going. It holds up to layers pretty well. It's just a little bit too thin for me. If I want to use a terp, I'm not going to use this stuff. But I've created several paintings with this stuff. Again, I just like the wide format. Sometimes I want to do something a little different as far as what I'm offering as far as the format. But I do like that wide format. So here it is, Strathmore Art again. Pretty good stuff. I just wish it was a little bit thicker. That's my really only gripe about this. I wish it came in 100 pound. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. Let's see, they give you, how many sheets in here? 24 sheets, so it's probably good, affordable, not bad. If you like the wide format, you might want to give that a shot. And if you don't use terp, you might want to give this a shot. Okay, guys, that's it. That's all I got. I don't know, how many would we go through? 17 or 18? Again, #1 is going to be Pastel Mat. Bristol Smooth is fun, interesting to work with, very easy. Sanded paper. Honestly, sanded paper is probably the dream surface for oil pastels. Except when it comes to blending, it's pretty rough on your fingers. You got to use a stump. I do. I've tried it with my fingers and really got my tips of my fingers pretty raw. And so you got to be careful with the sanded. But as far as getting layers, as far as getting that deep color to stack up, man, sanded paper is really good. It is going to eat away your oil pastels pretty fast. You're going to grind those things down. So it's not something I'd use exclusively, but every once in a while I'll whip this out and bust out a painting with this stuff, and I enjoy working on sanded paper, sanded surface a lot. All right, guys, so I hope this helps anybody out there. When you're going through the art section and you're saying, I wonder if this works, and you're seeing some of these brands, well, now you know that these all work with oil pastel with no problem. I will say this about paper. Try different papers. Try different surfaces when you're using oil pastel. If you're starting out, just try different surfaces. Even though Pastel Mat's still my #1 favorite, I try other surfaces and I just buy a pad of something and I try it out, because I've learned over the years that using a different surface or a different paper helps me skill-wise. I learned something different about the oil pastel because the oil pastel works a little differently on each of these papers. And so I had to try different things and different skills, and what I got used to on Pastel Mat or whatever paper I was using, I can't use that same technique on a different paper. So it expands my skill level. And that's what I've learned over the years. If I would have stuck with just that Arches cold press oil paper, I never would have discovered Pastel Mat or any of these other papers. My work might have stayed static. So trying different papers really moves you. It grows you as an artist. You learn more skills. You learn more about oil pastel, what works best. Your style starts changing, and it's just good for growth. Don't get stuck in using one paper. As you can see, I've been doing this for a while, and I've spent hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars just on paper alone. And I just always go down the drawing, the paper section, and I just, I picked up this Vellum Bristol, and I really like this stuff. This is the new one I just picked up, and I love it. It works really nice. And actually, I'm going to start a new painting, and I'm going to start that now. And but anyway, I hope this helps you guys. Again, my advice, try different papers. It's going to grow you. It's going to challenge you. I highly recommend. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate all you watching, your questions. Thanks for being here, and have a great day.